What's going on YouTube? So when it comes to vehicles that rock the boat, this Tesla Cybertruck is certainly at the front of the pack. Now there are so many things I could say about this, but let's not waste any time. Let's go ahead and jump straight in to checking out this truck that shouldn't exist, but I only believe that it does because we're standing right here next to it today. Alright, so where else to start out with than with the exterior design? There's a lot of things that one could say about this. Certainly subdued and very classy and elegant is the first thing that comes to my mind. I don't know about you guys, but as you can see, of course, this is one of the most distinct vehicles that has ever roamed the roads of the US here. And that's because the overall shape, of course, is unique. Also, what the vehicle itself is built out of. So this is a stainless steel exoskeleton, meaning, you know, every part of it is stainless steel. You can knock on it and hear that really metal ting. And that in itself is a manufacturing kind of marvel in the sense that they have managed to shape this into as many different creases as they have. Just be careful not to touch certain elements like right here at this area, or you might cut yourself. Now, another distinct element, of course, is the lighting. So we have a big LED bar that's going to go across the front, of course. And then as far as the actual lights themselves, those are going to be located down here a little bit lower. So we've got our low beam, or our high beam LED headlights, and then over here is going to be your turn signal indicator and also another accent light. Down here in the lower part of the fascia, you have a little bit of area to get air into the vehicle itself. Obviously, this part is going to be completely sealed off. We have some recovery hooks, and in terms of our clearance, you've got a wide variety of settings that you can choose between inside of the vehicle itself. The entry and exit mode is really, really low to the ground, and right now we have it on the high setting, so it's quite high off the ground. Now, let's move on to our wheels. So we are going to have a 20-inch alloy wheel on board today. You might notice this looks a little bit incomplete, and that's actually because currently those really interesting wheel covers that kind of blend in with the tire themselves are under recall, and the owner of this vehicle doesn't, or it was delivered without them. They're going to get some new ones later on once Tesla figures out any problems that they have with those. Obviously, you do have these chunky side areas here going around the wheel arches. They stick out quite a bit, and then actually inside of the stainless steel itself, this is where you'll find branding. There's very little branding at all on this vehicle, but it does say Foundation Series because this is what they're delivering right now. Now, in terms of our mirrors, very triangular, of course, as you can see. We are going to have a blind spot monitoring system. You do have built-in power folding, auto dimming, as well as heating.
Now, standing here in person at the side of the Cybertruck, I mean, I don't have to tell you, it has a very unique and triangular design. I think this is the only vehicle I've ever seen that has a triangular shape to the side. It has a very cool look, and you know, if people here in Cincinnati are any indication, everyone is going to be admiring it, that's for sure. Now, I do want to point out your different cab and bed configurations. We have a 4-door setup on all Cybertrucks. We also have a 6-foot bed. That's going to be the only way that you can get this vehicle. Now, of course, as we head around to the rear, that triangular shape is going to continue. It comes into a point when we head around to the rear. And then as far as this area is concerned, it does have kind of a similar vibe to the front in overall simplicity. There's not going to be any Tesla branding. There's not Cybertruck written out back here. It's just going to be pretty much a blank canvas. And as far as some of the lighting elements, we have a full-length light bar through here. This is going to be your brake light. It's a full LED brake light. You also have your reverse signals integrated down here by the license plate. Those are also LED. And then we have a little bit more foundation branding right under the right taillight unit itself. Now, as far as the tow rating is concerned, we do have official numbers from Tesla. This is a very powerful vehicle and it can tow a lot. 11,000 pounds for this Cyber Beast trim level. The rear drive model will be reduced down to 7,500 pounds though. And it's a truck after all, a weird looking truck, but it's a truck. So let's talk about the practicality. So as far as the bed area is concerned, you see right now we're completely sealed off. That's because we have a power tonneau cover. So in order to open that up, you just press this button right here, and then that's going to power release the tonneau cover. It is a fully power tonneau cover, and it actually slides back behind the rear glass. So that's a really cool touch about this vehicle. It's kind of stowed behind the rear seats. I do also want to point out you can stand on it, so it supports weights, I believe, up to 300 pounds. So you could stand, sunbathe, whatever you want to do on your Cybertruck. As far as the tailgate, you just push this button right here. That's going to release it. It is not a fully power tailgate, but it does have that slow dampening on it. And then as far as this area is concerned, like I mentioned earlier, this is a 6-foot bed. So it's actually a pretty long bed when it comes to the overall length. One thing I am noticing is that the sidewalls do kind of come in a little bit, so it's a little bit more narrow than some other trucks, but we have some really cool lighting elements that go across both of the sides. Now, if you want to know the diagonal length of this bed, I do want to go ahead and get you those numbers, because here at Car Confections, we're all about providing those figures, and diagonally, we're looking at a maximum length of about 88 inches overall. Now, we're not done yet because there are some cool features. First of all, you can lift this up. This is a underfloor storage area, so kind of like a Honda Ridgeline, you have this underfloor storage, and as you can see, it can be filled with ice. You can put drinks and stuff under here. Certainly a very cool tailgating and party trick. And over here on the left side, we have 3 household style outlets, and these are actually some pretty powerful outlets. These are household style outlets, and these are 240 volt power outlets. So very cool setup here in the back, and you can actually get some work done, if people will actually leave you alone long enough to get work done. And as far as your safety systems are concerned, this is a Tesla after all, so you're going to have all of your active safety features as standard equipment on this Cybertruck, including autopilot. Additionally, you can option on full self-driving to this model. But guys, there is a even cooler inside that we can't wait to show you, so let's dive into that. But first,
If you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12.
And 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
and before we get into the inside, I do want to give a special thanks and shout out to Adventures Rentals for loaning us this Tesla Cybertruck for you all to see. Obviously, this is a very rare vehicle, so we're very grateful for them to give us this vehicle to show you all. So if you want to rent electric vehicles, go to eventures.rentals, and that's going to show you all their available vehicles for you to rent.
All right, so let's go ahead and check out the interior. Now, this is a Tesla after all, so you didn't expect there's going to be something conventional like a key fob, did you? No, use your phone as the key, or you also have a backup key card in case that's not working. There's also no real exterior door handles, as you can see, so what you do is actually just press this little button up here in the pillar, and an electronic mechanism will push out the door, which you can then grab. I'd recommend grabbing it here since this is the softest part. If you grab over here, it's very sharp, so you might cut yourself. All right, now take a look inside the interior. Obviously, there's not a lot to take in, actually, because it's very minimalistic. Tesla, each kind of new model they come out with, they make the interior more and more minimalistic. There's hardly any buttons or switches in here, which you'll see as I go through the interior itself. But before we get into those individual details, let's talk a little bit about our seats. So, as you can see, first of all, the interesting thing about the seat is kind of how it is basically on stilts is what it looks like. Just kind of it setting up there like that. Also, this is the coolest little plate here I've ever seen. The way they've almost looks like they welded in Cybertruck branding into that. Really, really cool stuff. But as far as the seats themselves, obviously this is not going to be a real leather. Tesla doesn't do that. They have a vegan leather, but very nice quality on this. It's soft and supple. It's a nice single piece design as well. And we've got the perforation and color contrast piping down the sides. This is a black seat, obviously. As far as the seat controls, we've got about 12 ways of power adjustment on board. The lumbar support here is for way adjusting. And you do have memory seats. Those functions are going to be inside of the display. But let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, getting inside is nice and easy because, like I said, we are on the entry height. This is the fastest raising and lowering air suspension I have ever seen as well. I should point that out. But You know how we like to do at Car Confections. The first thing we want to do is check out the interior materials and overall quality of the cabin. So I'm going to start out over here on our door trim. We have this leatherette material through here. We have white in the center section, and it is going to be padded along the top as well. You're going to see that same piece of white go all the way across the entire front area here. And then we have this kind of silver trim with ambient lighting, which actually runs all the way across the dashboard and onto the door trims themselves. Now, of course, we got to talk about this glass, this windshield. It's absolutely nuts. It is so incredibly long. I can't even reach halfway up there to it. This part here is still finished in a nice cloth material. This part here is finished in a padded rubber material. And then finally, as we wrap up down on this part, you actually do have another little bit of padded plastic running through here for your knee to rest against. And overall, I have to say, everything in here really fits together nicely. No real misfit pieces or anything like you might expect from a Tesla product. All right, now to start it up, you know how this goes. You put your foot on the brake, and that's what fires up the vehicle. Now, we, of course, at Car Confections travel with our measuring devices, so we figured we ought to measure how long this glass is, just so we can figure that out. Let's see. Looks like by the time we get to the visor, we're at 48 inches or 4 feet. It extends up to 55. This is where this pad here, where the lighting is going to cut off, but the actual glass extends all the way up here to this point, which is 66 inches or 5'6". So that is quite the long windshield, and that's also why it has a 4-foot windshield wiper, which I'll show you guys right now. That's how it cleans off the windshield. It's the craziest thing here in person. All right, now let's talk about some of the other elements of the interior. We'll start with the steering wheel. Obviously, we don't have any traditional gauge cluster or anything. We've got this kind of squared off steering wheel. So unlike the Tesla Model S, thankfully we do actually have a top to this steering wheel. That's going to help with the overall maneuverability of it. Obviously, this is going to be a power tilt and telescoping steering wheel. It does have steering wheel heating. We have just Cybertruck branding right there in the middle, and then you have these touch-sensitive buttons for things like your turn signals, your headlights, triggering the camera, and the windshield wiper like I was just pointing out earlier. Now, pulling back, let's talk about interior storage. I'll open up our center console first of all. Inside, you're going to notice it's loaded down with donuts, a lot of donuts, because we like to do the donut test here at Car Confections. That is our emblem after all. And inside of this Cybertruck, we can fit 24 donuts. That is 24 donuts, which is the maximum amount that any vehicle can score on the Car Confections donut test. Very, very impressive just how many can fit in here. This does have like a magnetic lid as well, so it doesn't actually snap into place. 2 big cup holders, good for big drinks. And then you have double wireless phone charging pads side by side right there. This is, by the way, your Tesla key card when you need to use that. And then you just have this tremendous area right here. You can obviously stick anything you want. It does have a little ridge here to keep it in place. So very flexible storage area on board. Now, the thing that Tesla doesn't take up space with, of course, is the shifter. That is going to be inside of the display. This is a predictive shifter, so it does go ahead and figure out if you want to go in reverse or drive. Most of the time automatically, it just kind of depends on if you're near obstacles. Where we're in an open parking lot right now, it's not sure. So you're just going to go up there, swipe up for drive, down for reverse. By the way, if something were to happen to your screen, you do have a backup shifter up here in the pillar. So you would just swipe there, it pulls that shifter up, and you can do all the same things up here if something was ever wrong with the display. Let's go back into reverse though. As you can see, we've got a lot of cameras on board. You're going to have front and rear views as well as side camera views. You can swipe between those views using the display itself. Very clear. We don't have a big overhead view, which is interesting. I'm not sure exactly why they don't include that, but those are the views that you get. Those do also pull up when you go use the turn signal as well. And then just tap that P there for park. Now, here we are at the display. This is where pretty much everything else I need to talk about is located. So this is an 18.5-inch display. This is a very, very large display. And the first thing you notice as soon as you get inside are the insane graphics. Tesla has managed to really up even the previous graphics that they've had on other models. You can just swipe all around this vehicle and control different functions of it. And the responsiveness is outrageously good. This is basically a full-fledged computer in all respects. Now, in terms of the actual functions, they're going to kind of line the bottom here. This is where you would come to like car settings. So since you adjust all the vehicle settings over there in the display, as you can see, you've got a lot of different options that you can go between, including this is how you would adjust the mirrors as well as the steering wheel. When I tap there, that's going to turn on our climate controls. Of course, like other Tesla products, you adjust your vents electronically using this display, and you can kind of hear it shifting around inside of this panel right here. We also have, various different settings throughout. This is where we would turn on things like our heated steering wheel. And then if I tap there, we do have automatic heated and ventilated seats. And you can see that you have 3 stages on board for each of those. Now, one thing Tesla hasn't added is Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. You're still not going to have either of those functions, but you've got a lot of other just kind of random things that you can do. This is the camera system I was talking about earlier, where you can kind of swipe between front and rear. You obviously have all these built-in applications and things that you can pop out through there. As you can see, tons of different choices. This one here is a fan favorite. You can go over to the basically entertainment or toy section, and you've got all those cool modes that all Teslas have had, where you can play games, light shows, romance mode, the boombox where you can change the lock sound to different sound effects, horn sound, all that stuff you can replace and do interesting things. And then this right here will actually show you what the rear display is showing. As you can see, we're using that display in the most appropriate way to stream Car Confections videos and subscribing. Now, one of the interesting things is you'll notice up here, nothing. There's nothing going on. There's no mirror at all on this. That's because more or less you don't have any rear visibility when the tonneau cover is shown. So let me go into drive just to show you what you'll see. Well, actually, I guess it doesn't pull up until you start driving, but when you do, you get this little box, and that shows you the rear camera. By the way, in terms of the audio system, you've got a 15-speaker sound system on board. We have some very interesting visors here, which fold down in 2 different parts with the mirror and light built in. Kind of a nice suede headliner up here at the top, and then lastly, we've got this LED strip, which is touch sensitive at the top.
Now, getting into the rear of this Cybertruck, you certainly feel like you're in a very futuristic and cool space. Most of that has to do with the roof line. I mean, at the side, you saw it goes into a triangle, so it kind of peaks right up here and then slopes down gradually. So it's a very cool overall area to spend time. It feels open and airy, which I certainly appreciate. Now, as far as the space figures themselves are concerned, we're sitting at about 41 inches of legroom, about 39 inches of headroom. So good space figures. This is a lot of space. I'm 5'9" for reference. This seat is adjusted to Drew, who's 5'8", and we're sitting at about 9.5 inches of additional knee space. My feet can slide up underneath the seat, and these seats are actually quite comfortable. I'm pleasantly surprised with how nice these seats are. Now, of course, the main star of the show here in the rear is this new 9.4-inch display that allows you to do a lot of different things. Drew already mentioned it, but the best thing to do is to watch Car Confections on the rear display. But you can also do quite a few other things. You can use Twitch, Netflix, Hulu. All of that can be mirrored actually up on that main display, as you can see up there. So you can watch the exact same show as a whole family, which is pretty cool. You also have your own climate functions, so you can adjust your vents and all that stuff in this display itself. Additionally, heated rear seats are standard equipment, so you just tap on the screen like that to adjust your heated rear seats. Really like that feature. You also have the ability to use different music and control audio sources back here. Now, your vents are going to be integrated underneath of that. And then as far as this area, There's not going to be much under here, just an LED light. And I do want to point out that the floor is completely flat. Now, this center armrest area, you can pull this little tab here. That's going to fold this down. Gives you a really nice fat armrest. I like it. It's going to be very comfortable. 2 cup holders inside. And then turning to the door trim. The door trim is going to be made of nice materials. Of course, you have that frameless glass. You have leather all through here, white leather through the middle, leather on the armrest portion. There's an absolute crap ton of door storage here in the Cybertruck. Now let's check out the under-seat storage. There is quite a bit. I'm going to let Drew come on in and let the camera see. As you can see, our tripod fits down there perfectly fine. In a traditional truck fashion, you have quite a bit of practicality when it comes to this Cybertruck. And we're not done yet, because actually the really cool thing that most trucks do not have is a frunk. And that's going to be up here in the front of this Cybertruck. The entire thing just kind of lifts up, and that's going to reveal about 7.1 cubic feet of additional cargo capacity. Now, I'm trying to avoid the sharp corners here, because I'm pretty sure you may really hurt yourself if you hit that corner right there. But this is a good amount of space, guys. Certainly enough. When we had a Tesla as a long-term vehicle, we put our fast food up here. You're going to be able to fit a lot of takeout up in this front area, that is for sure. And I, once again, am a big fan of the branding that they have in this area. Well, guys, we are behind the wheel of probably the coolest vehicle and wildest drive experience that we've ever had. So in this test drive, we're going to be talking about our usual assortment of things, including getting our sound level reading so we can see how quiet this refrigerator-like shape is. But first, we're going to go ahead and start with a hard acceleration and see how fast it is. All right.
Just a quick stab of the accelerator on the Cybertruck is gonna show you this is startlingly fast. So what we have on board is a dual electric motor setup, and this is making 593 horsepower. And that's going to be good for a 0 to 60 of under 4 seconds. Motor Trend just tested out this exact variation. So this is the Cybertruck Foundation series, and that was 3.8 seconds to 60 according to their testing. That feels right behind the wheel.
Yeah, which is remarkable for something that weighs, I believe it 9,800 pounds is what it says in the door trim. So to get something that, you know, weighs that much to 60 miles per hour in that fast of a time, very, very impressive. It certainly doesn't even really feel right physics-wise.
Yeah, from a stop there, really quick. Now, I do want to mention that this is not the fastest Cybertruck. There is going to be, you know, the version that you've seen probably across YouTube where they towed a Porsche 911 and actually beat a Porsche 911 on a drag strip, which that was a little deceptive, no doubt, but certainly an extremely fast vehicle. They're citing for 2.6 seconds to 60 when you take out the rollout. So that's incredible in terms of speed, just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's a Cyber Beast, and that comes in at 845 horsepower. So that's, I don't even have to tell you that that's a lot of power. That's a lot of horsepower when it comes to this model. Now, I do also want to point out that there is an upcoming rear drive model that, of course, pushes down the price point of this model to make it more affordable. And as far as performance goes on that, we don't have official details just yet, but Tesla estimates a 0 to 60 in 6.5 seconds, which is still pretty quick for a large vehicle like this. Of course, it's not going to be nearly as fast and exciting as what you get here with the all-wheel drive model or the upcoming Cyber Beast.
Yeah, and I just want to point out right now the fact that Tesla is, they don't really put out a lot of official information. They like to keep their secrets, and they don't have any type of press team or anything to ask questions about. So
doing our best.
Yeah, if you're wondering why there's, you know, some types of things that we're not 100% sure on, that would be why.
Now we're getting onto the highway in the Cybertruck. Certainly it's going to garner a lot of attention from those that are driving around you.
Certainly.
Lots of people take out their phones and video. We don't recommend doing that while driving, but one of the things we want to do while we're on the highway here is get our sound level reading going 55 miles per hour. Official Car Confection sound level reading, 53.2 decibels. That's a very good sound level reading. You can't look around too much. You see a lot of weird reactions. That one, the lady, her face she was completely shocked about it. But 53.2 decibels. It's a very good sound level reading. That's honestly better than I expected for something, you know, that has this proportion. I guess it is very aerodynamic, generally speaking. But we don't have to sit here and guess, because we can actually go to carconfections.com/sound level readings and see how this Cybertruck compares to other electric vehicles that we've tested out. And as far as how that does compare, that's going to put it as a very quiet option. It's definitely in the upper tier for best sound level readings when it comes to electric vehicles. It's going to be very close to stuff like the Ford F-150 Lightning, the Mercedes EQS, the Cadillac Lyriq, those types of vehicles. And it is going to be quieter than stuff like the Rivian R1T. But I also just want to, take a second here and talk about your ride quality now that we're just kind of cruising along here. If you can, just relax a little bit, try and get all the attention off yourself and close your eyes, I think you'll realize that this does have a very impressive ride quality. I mean, we've been driving around pretty much all day with this Cybertruck, and the air suspension does a fantastic job of just soaking up those bumps the way that you want it to. And even if you hit a big intrusion in the road, there's quite a few potholes up here in Cincinnati area, and it does a very good job of just soaking that up. I also think the seats they're firm, but overall I think they're very comfortable over long periods of time.
The vehicle itself actually monitors the red lights and tells you when they turn green, so that's pretty cool. I haven't seen that on any other vehicles. I think Audi has one where it connects to the actual red light system itself, but that's only supported in a limited situation, so this is a better system.
I'm also noticing too that we have the actual blind spot light in the B-pillar. That's something
right
that Tesla's previously didn't have. It was in the display. It's right there in the speaker grill. They put a little tiny light right here to show your blind spot. Honestly, I would still prefer it to be in the mirror. That's still a pretty small light, but I'm happy that it's a physical light rather than just the no light setup that we had before.
Yeah, you're going to need all the help you need,
Yeah.
or you can get, because the visibility in here is not fantastic. I mean, you've got good visibility out this huge windshield, but you can't really see the front of the vehicle. The side windows are pretty good, but then the back, non-existent. So when the tonneau cover is closed, and the fact that you don't even have a mirror at all means that you're not going to be looking back, except for this right here. So when I naturally want to look up, right, and see what's behind me, but I actually need to draw my attention to this display, which is okay in the daylight and in perfect weather conditions, but I have seen when it rains, when it's dark, your visibility is reduced to very, very little, let's just say that. So that's not ideal, that's for sure, in terms of everyday practicality.
Now we want to take a second here to talk about our slam dunk and airball after living with this Cybertruck for the full day. Drew, what is our slam dunk for this model?
I think slam dunk just has to be how much this stands out as a unique, truly attention-grabbing machine, because there's a lot of things you could spend $100,000 on, but I think the person that wants to buy one of these wants to stand out. And That's exactly what this is going to do. You will be noticed, and this is truly a unique kind of once in a lifetime vehicle, you know, when something comes out that's just truly so different from everything else on the road.
Yeah. And then as far as on the airball side, that in itself does have some compromises. In order to get this crazy unique design, you have the stainless steel exterior, which has sharp edges. Drew's cut himself multiple times.
My fingers have cuts
today.
on them.
And we even have experienced this before, and we knew to watch out for it. So you're going to cut yourself. You know, the lack of a mirror, I think, is a little bit of a stupid idea. I mean, I would rather just have a mirror, and I think it's a little bit of a safety issue, especially if you're driving in the rain or at nighttime. So some of those compromises, you know, may not be the best for everyday practicality, but for the person that's looking to stand out, I think they're more than willing to make that compromise.
Now, I can't avoid it any longer. Let's talk about the steering. One of the really interesting things about the Cybertruck is that this basically, the steering system has no direct connection to the wheels. This is a steer-by-wire, and it actually doesn't even have a physical backup. Tesla just say they, you know, build in redundancy, obviously, for safety reasons, but just like an airplane, you just don't have that physical connection at all. And this steer-by-wire, I have to say, is pretty well executed. Obviously, in a similar fashion to what we've seen on other vehicles, when you're going at low speed, you're going to get that kind of dramatic kind of reaction from very little input. That's going to help you, you know, turn when you're parking, when you're going around tight corners. We do have a rear steering system as well, so that is going to allow you to make those tighter turns. You have a pretty reduced turning circle. It's actually quite a bit less than what you would expect from a vehicle of this size. And overall, that's pretty cool. Obviously, there's no feel to the steering, really, because it's not connected to anything, so you wouldn't expect that. As speed builds, you know, you obviously get a little bit less input. And you can just see how that operates. The handling on board with this is pretty good as well. They maintain the body roll pretty well for a truck like of this size. It's not exactly fun to drive. The tires don't have a lot of grip if you really pick up speed, which we can't do right now because we're kind of in a more suburban area. But, you know, all in all, between the ride and the handling characteristics, I think it's pretty pleasant to live with. It will take you a little bit of time to adjust to. Certainly when I first took off this morning, turning out onto the road, I almost turned too fast and clipped the sidewalk because it just is very, very responsive with that rear steering and how little input it takes to make that turn at low speed. But once you spend a little bit of time with it, you will get used to it, and I'm just happy that we have a full steering wheel with all the sides.
Yeah,
now.
thank you, Tesla.
So much better than the Model S Plaid. So much better.
Now, I do also want to talk about range. This is an electric vehicle after all, so what's Tesla saying? So as far as the Cyber Beast, the standard Cyber Beast should slot in around 320 miles of range. The all-wheel drive version, 340 miles of range. They are also saying that they're offering a range extender. That's not currently available, but the range extender, they say, can boost range up to about 470 plus miles. And then the rear drive version, they are estimating a range of 250 miles for that. Now, as far as your warranty is concerned, you do have a 4-year, 50,000 mile basic warranty. You do also have a drivetrain and battery warranty of 8 years and 150,000 miles for this Cybertruck. And let's talk about pricing for this new Tesla Cybertruck. So we're going to start at around $61,000. That's for the rear drive model, not in production just yet. So that's going to be the most affordable Cybertruck that you will be able to get. The all-wheel drive is $79,900. Now what you're seeing today is the Cyber Beast. That's going to be $99,990. So $10 under $100,000 will get you this Cybertruck. That's what's shipping out right now. So certainly a pretty pricey truck, but also it's going to be in line with a lot of those other truck rivals, such as the F-150 Lightning fully loaded out, as well as a Rivian R1T. And if you're looking to buy a Tesla Cybertruck or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. Now, why you do that is because it will connect you with local dealerships in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation. If you'd like to take advantage of that, a link is provided in our video description. And guys, that's going to be where we leave off on this in-depth review of one of the coolest, weirdest cars that well, probably shouldn't exist, but does, the all-new Tesla Cybertruck. So certainly, we hope you enjoyed watching this video, found it helpful if you're looking to buy one, and if you did, we would really appreciate hitting that subscribe button down below. If you hit that subscribe button, you help give us opportunities like this where we can show you some of the coolest cars on the market, so please consider doing so if you haven't already. If you're already a part of our family, thank you so much for your continued support, and we also want to thank Adventures Rentals as well for helping us to get this Cybertruck to you guys, so thank them in the comments down below as well. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.